I think the reality is that we are in a sort of low expected return world, and that while that's not the best in terms of the evolution of our super industry and our retirement industry, it's the reality. So investors need to capture income wherever they can, and the great news is there's still plenty of places where you can generate income without underwriting undue amounts of portfolio volatility. I think if you look back in history and you say you used to be able to earn 3 or 4% above the inflation rate without taking undue risk, really just by buying a government guaranteed bank deposit. These days with the cash rate at 1.5%, obviously you've got to take a lot more risk in order to generate anywhere near the same returns that were available historically. So as long as that retirees are thinking about how much risk they can underwrite, and then monitoring and modifying the portfolio in order to not take an undue amount of risk and chase too much return. I think income is going to be the most important ingredient for most retirees in their portfolios, but having sort of diversified sources of that income is the most important thing. So sure, high dividend paying equities, hybrids and those sorts of things play a very important role, but similarly we should have an allocation to bonds, both Australian bonds and sort of global bonds, especially in the global credit space, to generate some income that's completely or at least lowly correlated, if not negatively correlated, with some of the other assets in the income generating portfolio. I think the first thing is that hoping that we get some sort of mean reversion back to old normal world. I think that's going to be any manager that's still hoping for that's going to be disappointed. I think a focus on portfolio liquidity is going to be very important, as we know that the provision of liquidity from the financial sector is permanently reduced, and also sticking to your investment disciplines around diversification. So again, not being too yield hungry, but thinking about the combination of all of the different assets in the portfolio and what that does to risk adjusted return. I think it's a really good question. I think our view is that central banks will remain front and centre in relation to their policies going forward. Now, whether that be provision of additional accommodation by cutting rates even lower, or whether that be a gradual exit in terms of putting rates back up, and having an internal proprietary view on those moves is key. So for us, having say Ben Bernanke on board provides us with incredible insight in terms of how that process will be navigated going forward.